your girl, Miss Trina, with Chat with Trina. And I'm super excited. Y'all know during voting season, I was trying to have this Tuesday night event. And guess who's showing up for me tonight? Mr. Isaiah Martin. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Y'all were busy in November.
Oh, yes.
So I am excited that we're getting you before this next November so we can be ready to get it together. I know you guys had a block walk this weekend, and I heard it was really big.
Yes.
Successful.
Oh yeah, we're excited about it, man. We got so many people to come out. I mean, it was the biggest one out of anybody else this cycle. So we're just proud of it. Yeah.
And so were y'all over here? What area were you in? Were you at Acres Homes?
Yeah, we're Acres Homes. Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, hey, I had a meeting, but
that's right.
We want to get started. So y'all just want to introduce, in case those who don't know, this is Isaiah Martin. He's a candidate running for Congress in the Texas 18th District.
That's right.
He's a community advocate, and he's a proud product of Houston's public schools. And y'all know he is a proud graduate of the University of Houston.
Go Cougs, right? Go Cougs.
Yes. And someone who's been deeply involved in youth organizing and civic engagement. Isaiah, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy.
I don't take for granted your time. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and being with me for a little bit tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to kick things off with, why in the world are you running for Congress?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks so much for having me tonight, Trina. It really does mean a lot. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think our party's fighting back hard enough. I think that's very apparent to everybody that's out there. I think that we got to do a lot more to go stand up to folks like Donald Trump. And it's going to take a lot of new leadership. We got a lot of work to do. And, unfortunately, when the late Sylvester Turner passed away, I took a good look at it. And I realized that if we're going to be able to protect the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and so many of the great things that we have already, and then go forward, right? Because we got to be talking about what are we going to do after we have Donald Trump. We got to be able to have a vision for the future. I knew that I couldn't stand by, as this opportunity would be the one that would shape our lives for the next few years, in the next decades to come. So I'm excited to be in the race, and I'm excited to win and get to work for the people of this district.
Yay. And, I have my daughters are, how are they? 29 and 30 something. And they have to have conversations with me all the time. So I'm going to bring this to you. They say that they don't like it because they hear people say things like, the millennials, they're not paying attention. They don't know what's happening, blah, blah, blah. But they said we're out there, we're doing stuff. I don't think we're doing enough, but we are out there. And why do people think that we're not being a part of this? Because we are, but we are not, how do they put it? We're ready to move forward with other things, more of a different modern take on politics, if you will. How do you feel about that? Do you feel the same way, that there needs to be more fight, a different way of doing this job?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, what I've always said a part of this campaign is that we are uniting people from every single age and background. Mm-hmm. So whether you're somebody who marched and protested during the Vietnam War, or whether you're somebody who's just graduating from college, we want to be somebody that represents everybody and are fighting for the concerns of all people in our district. Now, what I will say is I think that the methods of being in elected office require a different set of skills. Before, let me go back a little bit. I spent 4 years with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Mm-hmm. And it is through that experience, from working up, from being her, carrying her purse, and then ending up her senior advisor, that she always taught me the importance of always being able to adapt. Mm-hmm. The people that oftentimes, they have one pitch per se, and they don't necessarily update. And what made the Congresswoman so special is that she always could adapt and change with the times. Yeah. And so, it used to be that a member of Congress was just voting for good bills, voting against bad bills, introducing some new stuff, bringing dollars back to the district and filing press releases. Right. But now that person has to be a communicator. So we have to be able to engage in social media like never before and reach people, particularly millennials and young people that don't get their news from the news or from the newspaper, as well as doing the traditional stuff. So I guess to answer that question, we have to fundamentally make sure we're able to do everything. And I'm making that a really big focus of this campaign.
Grassroots and the modern
Correct
things. I get that.
One or the other, because if you just focus on young people, millennials, and you leave out the seniors, that's not going to work either.
Right. Absolutely.
We got to make sure that we can hit everybody.
I agree with that. I think about when you say Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner, the two things that stand out to me that I loved about them was, one, they were never too busy to take a picture.
That's right.
And adapting and being a part of the community. Sylvester Turner was always in Acres Homes, and he was here there. But Sheila Jackson Lee, when she ran for mayor, I was kind of surprised, but she was showing up at Jack's and playing the rub board.
Yeah,
and that's how I caught her and got her on my show real quick. She's like, now, how many numbers we got? Now, what you got to say?
Yep. That's
she was playing a rub board that night, and my co-host got her to come out there, and I was shocked. I was like, she's really gonna come over here to my little table, and it was amazing. And that's something that I do appreciate about those two people, because they didn't act. They were very approachable. Right. And I love that,
They're regular people, regular
people. Right. So you have a full platform outlined on your campaign website.
Right.
But for the folks that are tuning in, can you give us just a few of your the ones that are priority to you?
Right. So, I think that there's a lot of work to do, particularly because, Abbott has kept this election open until November, which means that for a lot of the federal funds that we were supposed to get, we're not able to get them because we don't have a member of Congress that's there to push those through. Right. So I think one of the first priorities is going to be getting in there and assessing what we didn't get, what's still available, and working with our community partners to make sure that we're bringing that into fruition. We're also going to have to do a lot of work, particularly on storm recovery and other things. But, I think that one of the most important things right now, because Republicans are coming for everything. It's unbelievable. They've got, these massive cuts for Medicaid, these massive cuts for Social Security, VA, all of that stuff. And we've got to make sure that, one, we're standing up against all of that stuff. Two, we're making sure that we're voting to hit all of these very important votes that are going to be happening soon. And three, the tariffs are eventually going to be coming under the purview of Congress. And I look forward to making sure that we're canceling those out. So, the Medicaid cuts only passed by one vote. I'll be making sure that when I get there, I'll be the deciding vote to go and X out all of that completely. A lot of this stuff is stuff that, through my experience in the federal government, that I've known, what's important and what's not immediately. I don't need to have, a long period of necessarily, getting my feet wet. I know how to get the job done and hit the ground running.
So what do you, if someone was to say that they, because maybe they don't know Isaiah.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that you would have to, what experience do you have to where you don't think you have to get in there and wait and get your foot wet?
Well, because I learned from the greatest to ever do it in my eyes. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, I went everywhere with her for 4 years. And I was there when she was on the phone with senators trying to get the $35 insulin. I was there when, she was flying on one side of the world, coming back to be here 7:00 in the morning for a veteran's funeral.
Wow.
Right? I remember all of those things that she has done, and she's laid that implant into me. And so I know exactly how to go and pick up where she left off. But then also, I think that we should be talking about new things to get us ready for the future. It's not just doing what we've been doing. So I talk a lot about wiping out medical debt for every single person in this country, because I believe that it's absurd that if we can go and afford $4 trillion in tax cuts for people like Elon Musk, we certainly can afford to wipe out medical debt for everybody in this country. So we got to do that. We got to talk about making tuition-free community colleges so that when we get these big jobs here, that we're not going off all the way to Oklahoma and Washington and California.
North Carolina.
That's right. Let's train people right here in Acres Home to go forward and to go get these jobs so they can get ready for it in the future. So to say everything, I'm thinking very bold about what the vision is for the future, but then also using my experience at the federal level to know what the responsibilities of the congressperson is to get them done right away.
Okay, thank you. District 18 is one of the most vibrant and diverse areas in the country, right? In your District 18 is one of the most vibrant and diverse in the country. In your view, what's the biggest challenge that's facing our district?
Yes, the war of disinformation. I think that is the most it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, but disinformation is the most important issue of our times. And the reason for that is if you look at the last election, you saw our district got less than 70% of the vote for Democrats. That never happened. Like when the congresswoman was there, I mean, it was about 74, 75%, right? And so because our district voted more Republican, we lost so many judges in this last election. We almost lost, district attorneys races. We lost 3 seats on the city council. All of that stuff is because Republicans are flooding the zone with disinformation. Yeah. And so the only way to really combat that is to beat them at their own game. So it's understanding that we got to be active on social media. I've got close to 1 million followers across all platforms, and we use that to beat Republican disinformation. Yeah. And that's going to be very important to be able to go forward and win elections in the future.
You have your TikTok thing at night, show, if you will, at night. Now, what made you continue even after the election was over? What made you keep? What's the song? Another One Bites the Dust.
Another One Bites the Dust, right? Yep.
What made you keep going forward?
It's kind of interesting because when you run for this race, you get a lot of folks on your team or whatever, and they sometimes like try to say, I don't know if that's necessarily what politics is about. And I said no, because what makes it important is that every single night people know where to find me. If they want to ask me about the trash not getting picked up, if they want to ask me about a bill that they maybe saw online that they had a question about, if they want to know why their school isn't getting the funding they need, they know where to find me and they know how to ask me questions. And so every single night, even after this race is over and we win the election and I'm serving as a member of Congress, I'm still going to keep doing them because I want people to always know, if you want to find Isaiah, go at 11 o'clock at night.
On horse's mouth.
That's right.
Exactly.
You don't need to go through a staffer. You can just talk to me directly and we'll be
exactly. I get so tickled sometimes. I'm like, here comes the song. Here comes the song.
That's right. We got to make, the Republicans are trying real hard, but
oh my God, I have to say this. There was one I will never forget. He was a dreamer. And I was like, oh my gosh, poor baby. I would never forget that. It was my favorite one.
I wish we could check in.
You've been active in organizing and getting young people involved in politics for a long time.
Yeah.
So how would you bring that same energy and real representation to Washington?
Yeah. So, what we've been able to really do, not only in this campaign, but I've done a lot of work in this, particularly in turning out not just young voters, but people of all kinds. One of the first things that I did in college, when Greg Abbott made Third Ward wait about 4 hours to cast a ballot, we made our football stadium a polling site. And we took him on. And we brought that 3-hour-long wait time down to 5 minutes. And so it's that innovative thinking that we can continue to do to really go forward and just beat Republican BS. So it's not even necessarily, I think one of the biggest things is just being available, right? Yeah. We've been able to turn out, like when I was at U of H, we set records for the amount of people that were turned out to vote. I did a lot of work with other campuses. They did the same thing. And it was because we were accessible to people,
Yes.
Active on social media, but then also meeting them where they are, answering any questions that people had, I think is very important. And then also relentlessly focus on being on the ground, getting people information, whether it's flyers, just using every single method we could find. And I think that relentless type energy of winning voters is going to be very helpful. I'll give you another example. I did a lot of work, particularly on college campuses, in converting Trump-supporting college students to vote for Sheila Jackson Lee.
Interesting.
And it was amazing to see how many of those folks who voted for Trump also voted for Sheila. And it was because Sheila always was available. And she was always told it like it is, to where even if they disagreed with the Congresswoman, they knew that she was fighting for their best interest. And they voted for her. And we got to take that same approach to DC.
Definitely. I will say this, something I fight for, and you probably never heard me on here fussing in November when I couldn't get nobody to come on my show. But my thing is just that, like, we know that everybody's out and we talk about being approachable, being available. It's big. So even let's just say, and I know y'all can't go on every single podcast there is, but one podcasters are really important.
Yeah.
People don't even listen to the radio anymore. I know my kids, they don't even listen to the radio. It's all podcasts,
I don't
right?
even have a radio.
Yeah. And so with my podcast, my explanation to most people is that it may not be 1,000,000 or even 1,000, right? But there are some people on here that do listen, and
Right.
they listen later sometimes
Right.
that may not want to come to anything. They may not, but they see that you're there.
Right.
And it makes them, for me, this is my thought.
Right. Though.
It makes them feel important when they see you on a show like this. Does that make sense? And that's why I was out fighting to say, hey, one, y'all need to go to the podcast. But also come to someone like, they say the smaller the club, the bigger the party. So this is the party. This is the smaller club.
You're right. You're right though. That's why one of the biggest things I always am saying is like, I want to be everywhere. Yeah. I don't care how big, how small, I don't care what it is. It's about getting our message out everywhere. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think that is where we as Democrats have not done a great job at. Mm-hmm. We think that, or when I say we, a lot of people think that, you only got to go to the big guys like Joe Rogan or whatever, and you miss out on the people in your community that are doing the real work.
Yeah.
And we can't do that. And that's why one of the other things I want to commit to is to always be coming back on your show, Miss Trina, and talking to you whenever you'll have me, because I think that this is very important that we've got to do the good work of getting the word out.
Yeah, because some people have, it was so amazing. So I'm out a lot because I promote events and clubs and stuff like that. I made the decision, actually, one of my mentors, Miss Cleo, mentioned to me that back in the day, grassroots was going to where the people were. So I decided when I just got my voter register to register people to vote, you know where I went? In the clubs that I go to.
That's right.
And I was in Chicago Bar and Grill, as a matter of fact, and then there was a club in Third Ward. But you know what? In Chicago Bar and Grill, so many people came to me and said, hey, I've already registered, but I just want to thank you. Like, this is great. Right. I would never expect to see this. And I didn't do it for praise or anything like that. But I'm saying to you, grassroots, going to where they are. We did register some people. It might have been 5 because everybody else was registered. But I was happy to be able to go on. People don't know if, they were knocking people off the registration, you were able to go in right there and say, hey, you're still registered or you're not registered, And so I'm saying that to just say that's why that's so important. Again, not to dwell on Sheila Jackson Lee or Sylvester. That's where they were. They were at Jack's every Friday.
Right. They were.
You know what I'm saying?
They were
so,
everywhere.
Yes. So this question is not mine, but where do you stand on some of the major national issues like healthcare? You mentioned that already. What about climate change?
Well, climate change is something that we cannot abandon. I know Republicans really want us to, but I say we should tell them to pound sand. I think we need to double down on things like hydrogen production, which is a clean form of energy that High Velocity here in Houston has committed to do about 40,000 jobs right here in our district. So, well, not in our district, but in our city, but close enough. And the point is that we need to be talking about how we can get people trained for those jobs in our district to go get that as well. So we've got to be talking a lot about that. I want to be working a lot, particularly in the energy transition. So making sure that our charging network is there, it's accessible, to make sure that we're also, allowing people to be able to charge their vehicles if they do decide to get an electric vehicle. And then also I supported a lot of the work that was done to get a lot of our buildings modernized so they're not consuming as much energy so we can preserve the environment. So I'm really interested in doing that and making that a really big focus for the people of our district and all across the country.
Okay. And what about criminal justice reform?
Well, one of the biggest things that I support is a registry, what I call a bad apple registry, because it makes no sense to me that somebody can go and beat up somebody in another state. They get fired from that department, and then they can come to another department and then inflict their reign of terror on somebody else. Yeah. Like, that is beyond stupid to me.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that we can ban this nationwide and make sure that, one, that cannot happen, and ensure that when a bad apple does something, that they can stay a bad apple because they will not be on our streets anywhere else across the nation. So I'll be working on that very religiously the second I get to Congress.
I like that. You mentioned something earlier, and this is a question from directly from me. Is I've heard you guys talk about why Governor Abbott moved the election. Tell me why.
He's a wuss.
You did, in your opinion, why did he move the special election? Why did he wait?
Because he's a wuss.
You did answer that.
Yeah, I mean he's weak. I mean that he's doing it because he understands that, you know, look, his big ugly bill that Trump, this failed orange ridiculous president, only passed by one vote. They're now finding out that Trump is trying to slip in there a spy database to effectively spy on millions of people called Palantir. They also know that there's $800 billion worth of cuts for Medicaid and everything else. So it's likely that when this fails in the Senate, which is probably going to be the case, it's going to have to come back under the purview of Congress. And so having another seat in there, in which I'm vehemently against all of these things, does not bode well for them passing that bill. So frankly, they did it because they know that they need every single vote they can get. And they're very scared and weak about what they're proposing.
I agree. You can see the fear. How will you work across the board, bipartisan, Republican? How will you do that?
Well, I believe that the best bipartisanship is the retirement parties for every Republican that's standing in the way. If I'm just going to be honest with you. So I'll be working every single day to get them out because, frankly, I don't believe that the current day iteration of the Republican Party is really focused on collaborating or doing anything in good faith. With that being said, there are issues that I do think that there are bipartisan consensus, whether that is storm recovery, which traditionally has been bipartisan. I look forward to working with those across the aisle to put the political hat down for that. And then also protecting a lot of jobs, particularly, you know, NASA sees a lot of cuts that are going to be coming our way, over $20 billion worth of cuts. So I'll be working with them directly to make sure that we can fix that and stop that from happening. But to say the least, that will not stop me in the ounce or the slightest from campaigning against every single one of them to get them out of office, congressionally, state, federally, or locally. I don't care. If they have an R by their name, I'll be working to get them out of office.
Exactly. I love that. What do you think about Jasmine Crockett when she says that you can't keep coming to the war or the fight with a butter knife? I can already tell your answer, but do you believe that?
Absolutely. You know, I don't think when Trump is sitting there with a flamethrower, our response should be a water gun. I don't think that. So, we've got to be a lot more aggressive with these guys and really take everything we have to beat them.
To fight back. And I love, you know, some may think that I've heard people say things about loud, but you know, it's time for that. You know, it's time to stop being, I shouldn't say Pollyanna, should I? Or whatever that is back then. I know. So yeah, I enjoy seeing younger people coming out, stepping out, doing what they got. Even you, I hear you saying, I'm going to fight. I want to beat up Trump, whatever it is you're saying. But I was like, that's what we need. More fight, more even, oh gosh, what is his name? Wait a minute.
Al Green.
That, what he did that day, I just thought that seems like what we used to, when we weren't scared back in the day. Right. You know, when you had your John Lewis's and all that, fighting, and not scared to say something or scared what someone is going to say, or I'm saying the wrong thing, you know?
I 100% agree.
Time out for that. So I'm going to ask you something kind of light. Let's say election night goes your way, which it will. What's your go-to victory meal or celebration spot in your district?
Well, it'll be somewhat later. Maybe not. Who knows? Depending on what the election looks like. Yeah. You know, that's a really good question. I'm a big fan of this restaurant called Little New Orleans. It's downtown, and they've got a lot of the favorite things I like to eat, like red beans and rice and all of that. So I might go stop over there and get me some beignets or something before going over to the win party. Who knows?
Okay. It's funny. I went to a play at what is it called? The little I can't call the name of it. But anyway, I was there at a play, and I was walking by, and and I heard all this music and this partying going on. It was Sheila Jackson Lee. It was her campaign night.
I'm telling you,
what is happening? I went in, I'm nosy, and that's where she was.
She was something else.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It'll never be another.
Never.
Okay, another one. If you could have one superpower to use in Congress, what would it be? And how would you use it to help people of District 18?
Like a superhero style, like superpower?
Yeah.
I mean, I would choose to be able to teleport personally. Yeah, I would be able to teleport, from Houston to DC, and I would come back. Yeah.
Okay. I always so funny that when I do speak with a public servant, they're like, "Did she really ask me something fun?" So
I like that. I like that.
I love the.
I'm telling you, I would be able to teleport for sure. Like I would definitely, like I said, go, and then I would go to like every event I could find. Like
that would be good. That would be cool. I asked some. So I work for HID, and I asked some kids that question. What was the superpower? And they were saying stuff I ain't never heard of. I thought it would be being invisible. Fly. They were coming up with bionic, like bio.
I don't even think like that. Yeah,
Miss Trina has no idea what that is, but okay. So I want you to leave us with some last words. Why should we be voting for you, and whatever else you want to say to close out?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this, the future that we have ahead of us. I know a lot of times these races tend to be about, what somebody has done or whatever, but I really do believe that this is going to be our decade. Mm-hmm. I really do believe that. And I know it for a lot of people, they hear that and they say, Isaiah, that's crazy. You've got this nutcase in the White House. The Republicans are stupid beyond belief. How is that possible? But I'm a big reader of history, Ms. Trina. And I'm very familiar back in 1928, American people elected somebody by the name of Herbert Hoover. And he was terrible. He ran on basically this idea of Trump's deportation, basically, and massive tariffs and all that stuff. He wrecked the economy, and he ended up getting voted out of office, and he got thrown out. But what we then got was Franklin Roosevelt, who pioneered, Social Security, so many of the reforms that we have today, got the economy back going on track, provided so many jobs. And for the next 50 years, there was a 50-year period of Democratic dominance in this country. And so I know that this is going to be very difficult these next few years, but we will beat this guy. And when we do, we have the opportunity to fundamentally change the face of this country. And it is why we have to be every single day focus about the future, focus on what we're going to do, because I know when we do that, we will make sure that our district is stronger than ever before. And I'm ready to be able to lead that charge. So if folks want to believe in that vision, they can find me anywhere, Isaiah R. Martin, on all social media, as well as my website, isaiahmartin.org, ISAIAHMARTIN.org.
Isaiah.Martin, right?
IsaiahMartin.org.
Oh, .org, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
MARTIN.org. Okay, now I can't type RG. I'm sorry. Thank you for that, because I don't know if you remember us speaking before, but I was asking you to come on and make us feel a little bit more comfortable and feel some hope. And you saying that story with the Hoover, that gave me some hope. That gave me some hope, like right away. So thank you for that, because it does, history does repeat itself. So okay, I like that.
We're gonna get through this, Miss Trina, and I'm telling you, when we do, it's gonna be great. But we just have to make sure that we're always focusing on that North Star and that vision and that confidence of where we know we can be. And we're gonna get to it. So I'm excited.
I am too. Well, thank you so much. And I want to say I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much. And I will be out there soon. I'm having a big festival Saturday. I hope you're able to drop by and say hi to the people. Yes. And it's going really well. So I hope they'll get to see you. And once that's over, I'll be able to get out there and tell people this.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Y'all make sure that y'all go to IsaiahMartin.org. Check him out. The full plan is there. For those of you who are saying that there's no plan, he has a plan, a full plan. So go ahead and read through that. Isaiah, thank you so much for taking the opportunity and taking the time to speak with me tonight. Thank you. And you come back.
Oh yeah. Oh, look, that's all I need to hear. I'll be back, Miss Trina. I promise you that.
All righty. Thank you
Thank
and
you
good
so much for
luck.
having me.
All
Thank
righty.
you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.